What is going on, fishy friends? Alright, here doing some tank maintenance and thought I'd shoot a quick update. I've been busy lately. This summer has just been kicking my butt. Just too much going on and not enough time to do it all, and I barely have enough time to get down here and do my maintenance, let alone shooting the updates lately. So everything's rolling along pretty well. Crystilla Tetra is still doing good. This tank is doing really well suddenly. I don't know why. All of a sudden it's crystal clear. The few plants that are in this tank are doing very well. Apparently I'm feeding too much because I have an explosion of snails lately, but this is one of those tanks that I honestly don't do too much maintenance on. I do some water changes here and there. I have no set schedule. And just those two fish right now, so not much to worry about. Over here, my red-tailed black shark. It's looking great as always. I've had that black skirt tetra for, geez, I don't even know, a couple of years now. He's been around forever. But my last one all by himself for quite a while. I know he'd be happier in a group of at least 5 or 6 other black skirts, but he's kind of just chilling alone. There's one of the rams back there. I don't know if anybody's been following along, but that black angelfish swimming on the side. Here he is, still swimming on the side, still swimming in circles, barely has grown at all. Now, to put it into comparison, I bought that fish at the same time as the 5 angels that are in here, which are definitely outgrowing this 10-gallon tank. I gotta move these guys pronto, but they're growing nice. They're all hiding right now because I spooked them while I'm doing my water change. My red cherry shrimp failed miserably. Every one of them died, slowly but surely. So I've been testing the water, and I've been waiting to restock with some red cherry shrimp from another source. There's 2 rams in this tank. They're still doing well. The 6 rams I got from Ted Judy, I'm down to 4. Everything's testing out fine in the tank. But I've lost a couple on separate occasions, and I'm chalking that up just to the sensitivity of rams, because I can't figure out anything else that's wrong over there. The breeding pair, doing very well, but they have stopped breeding. The breeder I got these from told me that his fish, for some reason, don't continue breeding over the summertime months. So I don't think there's anything wrong. Those 2 are looking just as good as always. They're eating well as long as I give them freeze-dried bloodworms. They really won't eat anything else. But they've stopped breeding. The 4 juvenile discus in here, these guys are also pretty much have outgrown this tank, and I'm just about ready to swap them and put them down into that 55. More on that one later. Let's see, I had some cardinals in here. I don't know, cardinal tetras just do not do well in any of my tanks. Cardinals, neons, this tank might be a little too warm for them. My dwarf baby tears did not survive. A couple of them did right there. I got some algae issues in this tank again, but right now I'm just sort of more concerned about letting these 4 Epistogramma coccatoides grow out and do their thing. Getting some algae in here too, look at that. Not looking good. But the epistos are looking great. There's number 3 over there. And let's see, there's 2. There's a big snail. 3. And that 4th one right there. So these guys are doing very well. The 72 Bowfront is looking real good. Plants are doing well. All those rainbow fish are doing pretty good. There's at least 1 German blue ram in there somewhere. There's a couple of cory cats that are hiding right now. But for the most part, everything's doing pretty well in this tank. Still got a ways to go with the plant growth before it's exactly where I would like it to be. But so far, so good. This 55 is doing really well now that I got the CO2 back at the proper levels. I had some blackbeard algae and some hair algae in there. I moved my algae eaters out of this tank, which probably explains why there is now algae in this tank, and put them in here. They've been hanging out with all the rumminos. I got 2 angels in there that are still doing very well also. have not grown as big as the others in that 10-gallon tank, but they're growing steadily. And they're starting to color up. They're getting some yellow and some black spots. I tried something a little different over here. I can't remember the names of these plants. I think that's Riccia. But that had been floating at the top, and a lot of it still is, and it kind of connected to the top of that driftwood. So what I did was I dragged it down, and I wrapped some cotton thread around the driftwood, and now it's sort of enveloping the driftwood, and I think it's kind of looking pretty cool. Hard to see with all the glare, but that's sort of what it is. So that's working out kind of well. Everything else in this tank is doing very well. The algae seems to be at bay now. Plants are growing well. The Cardinal calamastratum is taking off again. I accidentally had hacked back a couple of the leaves of that thing when I was trimming that red tiger lotus, but it has bounced back, and I'm pretty pleased with this tank. This is that spot where I don't have much room to film. There's the wall. There's enough room for me to walk by and get to the tanks and do my maintenance, but there's not much room to film. Maybe that's a pretty decent angle of this tank. I think it's looking good. And my 55-gallon discus tank. All my jubies are growing. Everybody's looking pretty good except for that one little guy that I showed the other day in the other video about the discus. I do have an issue with this tank though. If you can see, the plastic trim is cracking and separating. Much less pronounced right now while the tank is almost empty while I'm doing my water change. If anyone doesn't know, those plastic cross pieces on a tank, you know, anything at about 40 gallons or bigger, is incredibly important. People often try to write that off like it's no big deal if those things crack in half. That's the only thing that keeps the front and the back of the tank separated. Water pressure is getting pretty great in tanks of 40 to 55 gallons, and this front glass wants to separate. Glass is a little bit elastic, believe it or not. There's some bounce to it, there's some movement to it, and the front glass wants to separate from the back unless it's being held together by that plastic trim. So this tank is getting dangerous. I'm going to need to either replace that trim or replace the tank, and I have very, very, very little clearance in between the sides of this stand that I built. As a matter of fact, when I built this stand, I measured for this tank, and I went to put this tank down there at first, thinking a 55-gallon tank is a 55-gallon tank, right? Well, this newer tank with the black trim is maybe a ½ inch or so wider than this old, you know, wood grain style tank here, and it doesn't fit between the sides of the stand that I built. So I might be in a lot of trouble. Might have to replace that tank. Another quick note, if you're ever building a fish tank stand, take a look at what we got here. None of the weight is being carried by the screws. The weight of this tank here is going down through this leg, through the top piece, and down this leg. So all the weight's being transmitted to the floor. You don't ever want to have a situation where, say, you don't have this bottom piece here, because then all the weight of the tank is resting on that screw there. Is that screw strong enough to hold it? Sure. Was it designed to hold weight like that? No. A screw will shear off and break eventually. So you always want to picture that. Carry that weight down into the floor and then down again into the floor, so that way it's not being held just by a screw between the two pieces of wood there. Just a little thing to keep in mind. Alright, that's about it. Time for me to start filling tanks back up. And if I remember, maybe I'll shoot a quick shot at the very end of the video showing the difference between that separation there when the tank is almost empty compared to when it's full. Alright, so now this tank is full. Well, maybe just shy of full. And now look at how far that tank brace is separating. There's a stress fracture happening right there. Besides this split here all the way across, and another stress fracture right there. Now, needless to say, I am tempting fate here. This clearly is a problem, and clearly I need to either fix it by getting some sort of strap to support the tank front to back, maybe a piece of aluminum stock or something with a right angle bent here, straight across to the back, and another right angle bent in the back, just to keep the front and back glass together. So that's why those tank braces are so important. Alright guys, I'm out of here. See you next time.